How you doing? Happy Friday. Listen, for tonight I was gonna do I was gonna pound out some chicken and do a nice chicken marsala. But as I went shopping, I ran across this bad boy. Okay, this is a pork loin center cut thick chop for $2.20. How could I resist? I'm gonna lightly pound this out. I'm gonna put some panko breadcrumbs on it, saute it, bake it in the oven, and serve it with some brown rice. Stay tuned. Alrighty, let's rock and roll. Okay, we got our hot little pot there for the rice. Okay, we got almost a cup of rice, a little more than 3/4. First I hit that with some butter. I'm going to put some raisins in there. I always put raisins. I always put something in there. It gives it a nice flavor. Give it a shot. And again, I always heat up my saucepan there and put the butter in. I cook the rice just a little bit. Okay, season it up, a little salt. There you go. And black pepper, a little more butter. There you go, bang-a-da-bang-a-da-boom. All right, so I get that all nice and hot there, nice and bubbling, and then I'll hit it with about 2 cups of water. Una and dos. A little under 2 cups. And you kind of want to give that, bring that back up to a boil and then cover it and then lower it. Simmer it for about 30-35 minutes. Easy peasy on the rice. All right, now of course chicken chops, I always wash it, pat it dry. Okay, some people do, some people don't. I always do. As you can see, I got a nice thick chop. Got some dark meat in there, which I love on a chop. Okay, and I put my saran wrap on the bottom. I put my saran wrap on the top. And that way we keep the splatters off the kitchen counter and off the surroundings. Okay, so we want to keep it nice and neat, especially with chicken. Now, as you can see, that bone, this is a bone-in chop, is giving me a little bit of a problem because I can't get a even pound with the bone holding the meat up, so I'm going to have to take care of that. So it won't cook even if I leave it as is. So what we'll do is we'll kind of cut the bone out. No big deal. Alrighty, and there's that. And now we'll be able to get a good even pound. You want the thickness of the meat to be pretty even, so it all cooks at the same time, right? And you see up there on the upper right that dark meat. Right there. This is a nice chopped $2 and what was it, 20 cents? I mean, you can't beat that. Look at that. Okay, the rice is looking good. I'm also preheating my oven. Okay, probably about a 450. Okay, and of course, if you've never used panko seasoned breadcrumbs, I would highly suggest them. Definitely a lot more crispier than regular breadcrumbs, regular Italian breadcrumbs. Okay, so the panko is a Japanese breadcrumbs, I believe. Okay, and we want to salt and pepper up the meat, right? Sometimes we salt and pepper the flour. This time I'm going to salt and pepper the meat. No big deal. You want to get both sides, of course. And so what do we want to do here, right? We want to go the flour first. Alrighty, and why do we do flour first? So the egg wash will stick to the meat, right? Without the flour, it'll just kind of fall off the meat, right? With the flour, you do the egg wash and it'll stick. Okay, and I like to get all sides. Nice even, you don't want it to be clumpy, you want to get an even dusting of flour. Well, next up, we got our egg bath, right? So now with the flour, the egg wash is going to stick. It's not my favorite thing to do, but the results always seem to kick ass. All right. And from the egg, we want to go into the panko, which again is, I believe, a Japanese breadcrumb. It's almost, gives it a crunchy coating after it's cooked. I like it better than Italian breadcrumbs, for sure. All right, we want to get top, bottom, all sides, the whole thing. All right, so we got our pan is getting hot. Hot pan, cold oil, and I'm using a vegetable oil. All right, and how do we test it to make sure it's done? We put a little breadcrumb in there. Nothing worse than putting food in a cold oiled pan and let that oil just kind of soaks in. So we want that oil hot. So we put it in, and it immediately starts to sizzle and starts to cook and starts to crisp. And there you go. And we're going to cook these probably about 2-3 minutes on both sides. And then we'll finish it off in the oven for probably about another 3, 4, 5 minutes. Total cooking time, but no more than 10 minutes. And look at our brown rice with the raisins. And trust me, the raisins add so much to the rice that I would suggest you give it a shot. And that's our timer for the rice there. And I believe we're just about done. Take a peek. And we got a little bit longer to go. Oh yeah. Now that's crispy. Not sure why I'm using these junky thingamajigs, but it's what I grabbed. Beautiful. Look at that. That's nice and crispy, perfectly done.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and remember, we're going to finish this off in the oven, so we don't want to cook it as much as that side, okay? So we don't want it to overburn. So, okay, we're on 475, and we're going to drop it in the oven. There's Charlie making an appearance on the upper right there. And our chops are done. That's about 4 or 5 minutes in the oven. Maybe total cooking time, maybe 12 minutes. Okay, and I like to, when I take anything out that was cooked in grease, I put them on paper towels just to get that excess grease off. And again, these thingamajings totally suck, and they'll be going in the garbage. There you go. We're just going to push that there. Yeah, so the oil just kind of sits in the paper towels just for a couple minutes. Let it rest. Let the oil get sucked up by the paper towels. Also, I'm going to put a little dab of butter on there for just for a little extra flavor. And there's the butter. And nothing healthy about this meal, so why not? Oh, that looks good. And a couple snaps for the thumbnails, and now let's have a taste. And that is just, that's gorgeous. Nice and crispy. Perfect, perfect. And it cuts like butter. There you go, perfectly cooked, nice and juicy. I mean, $2 and what, 20 cents? Are you kidding me? Excellent. Oh yeah. And how's that for a dinner right there, right? So I got my chops, I got my brown rice, and I got a little mustard, right? I got my stone grain, and of course I got some Dijon. I mean, that's beautiful. Love a little mustard on my chop. Brown rice with the raisins. And that's it, everyone. Enjoy your weekend and give this one a shot.